Hello and welcome to another FPL Party YouTube video. I hope you're having a good day. In this video I'm just going to be looking around the league. So the idea of this video is I'm going to look at the transfers in and out for this round and just talk a little bit about the thinking behind those moves that people have made. So let's start off with goalkeepers. So Martinez is the most transferred in goalie. He's the Aston Villa shot stopper. And then we've got McCarthy from Southampton, both of those under 5. Ederson has got 31,000 people picking him at 6. That seems kind of strange, but staying with Martinez, I think he's probably the best value goalie at the moment. I managed to get him in at how much did I pay? I think it was 4.7 on my wild card, and he's already gone up to 0.1, so that's a bit of a result. But yeah, people are obviously wanting to get in on the Aston Villa assets at the back. Martinez is an easy way to do that. And let's move on to defenders. So another guy that I picked up in my wild card, which is Chilwell, is the most transferred in defender this round. 223,000 people have transferred him in. He's already gone up to 5.7. I got him in at 5.6. So I'm doing pretty well out of that. I think it's a good move. People are sort of attracted to him for his assists. He's got to be nailed on because they paid, 50-60 million for him from Leicester. He's already got an assist, a goal and 2 assists. And the fixtures aren't amazing, but I can see why people have brought him in because they've maybe downgraded from Robertson or they've downgraded from TAA. And it just frees up a bit of that capital to spread around your team a bit more. The one big trend in FPL this year so far anyway is that there haven't been many clean sheets. I don't know if you noticed, you probably have. So going like the back, I think people are starting to transition towards that. I sort of always played like that. I don't really like seeing really expensive assets at the back. I just kind of think, I don't know, I don't really feel like they're worth it. I get attracted to the all shiny of midfielders and forwards, so I can that's how I play. So this year's actually working out quite well so far. Second is Mings, so again that's people wanting to get on the Aston Villa assets. He's probably the most nailed of the back line, and he's been decent for a goal. He's already got a goal this year and an assist, so that might be his only goal of the year, but if you had him in, you're laughing, aren't you? And their fixtures are actually really good for the next, 10 game weeks. They've got Arsenal in there as the only tough fixture. So I can see why people are bringing him in and getting some Aston Villa coverage. If they haven't got Martinez, or even if they have, maybe having the Aston Villa double up is maybe a good idea at this point because they're offering value. Mings is only 5.2. It's an easy move from anywhere to get him in. I'm sort of surprised here by Dean. I'm surprised that so many people have transferred him in. He's 6.2 now. The Everton defence isn't amazing at best. You've got Pickford there who, when he's taking time from breaking people's legs, sorry. He's not the best shot stopper. He's been pretty shaky so far, but he could come good. And having someone like Luca Dean is a good option. He's definitely got some attacking sort of potential in him. He's got 3 assists already this year. He finished with 8 last year, which is pretty good by anyone's standards. Owned by just under 20% of players. I would have thought people would have been transferring him out and downgrading, but I guess now you've got Chilwell. When he was 5.5, 5.6, he was much cheaper than Digne, but now he's not, so people are sort of, I guess, thinking, I'll just go for the premium. Then we've got Kilman, a 4.1 defender who's played the last 2 games, so it's pretty attractive for people as an enabler, I think. And so he's a good enabler, playing for Wolves at the moment. I think he just signed a new contract I saw today. So they obviously rate him, and he could be solid. He could be the Wan-Bissaka of this year, a nice cheap defender in your team. I could do something like take Seiss down to Kilman and put that million, somewhere else in my team. Not really going to do what I'm thinking about my team in this video though. Then we've got Robertson and Saiss, Cresswell, Konsa, Keane, Castagna, Regulion finishes up the defenders transfers in. So they're all pretty much the likely lads. I can see people getting on Cresswell. That's a pretty good option, I think. Their fixtures are really tough though, so you got to hope that he's got an assist in him. But let's move on to the midfielders and see who people have transferred in. So top we've got Son. He's 9.4 now. Wow, he bounced down to 8.9 at one point. I put him in my wildcard team at 9. So I've already made 200,000.2 on him, which is decent. But I think he's a season keeper, really. He offers so much value, and he's a great price. Getting less of a good price now. If he starts to creep towards that 10 million, then you got to compare him to someone like Fernandes, and then it's a bit more of a difficult decision. But I'd still go with Son, especially if you don't have any Spurs. Moving on, we've got Grealish. He's a good shout. I think a lot of people are interested in Grealish. I'm interested in Grealish. It would probably be my Rodriguez replacement, banking some of that money to then, spread around my team, maybe upgrade my defense slightly because my defense is pretty weak. But I'm not going to be doing that this game week. I'm going to keep Rodriguez it's got to be 4 or 5 game weeks just to assess him and see if he's bringing the points back. He's been doing pretty well, but it was announced today that by Ancelotti that he's not going to play, or he doesn't think he's going to play. So, I mean, if we've learned anything from managers saying that people aren't going to play, we should just play them, right? But, who knows? I switched him to my bench for Trossard for this coming game week. I couldn't decide between Trossard and him, and now he's injured, so that kind of makes a decision for me, doesn't it? But let's just go back to transfers in for midfielders. Yeah, so we've got Rodriguez. So a lot of people have transferred him in. He's now 8, which is crazy. He started at 7.5. He's been going up pretty much every other day or so. But a lot of people transferred him in, and now he's injured, so that's gonna suck. But that's the risk you take by transferring players in sometimes, isn't it? They get injured. We've got Mane and Salah, Jorginho, Fernandes, Barkley. Barkley's a cheap Aston Villa asset instead of Grealish. A lot of people going Barkley. 5.9 is an attractive price, actually, and I can see why people are doing that. Zaha I don't really get. Sterling I get. And then we've got Rashford, McGinn, another cheap Aston Villa midfield asset, 5.5, and then Foden at 6.6. The standout ones for me there are probably the 2 Liverpool lads. That's some decent transfers in this game week. Obviously, people wanting to get in on Liverpool if they haven't already. So what's the ownership like? I know Mane's pretty low, 8%. Salah's at 50% basically. But I can see why people are transferring those people in, especially Fernandes as well. He's returned in pretty much every game. So he scored the last 3 game weeks. I had him in my team as well, actually, but I can't be doing Man U players. I just feels wrong at the moment. But let's moving on to the forwards. So we've got Kane, the most transferred in. He's 10.8 now. Decent option, of course, and Calvert-Lewin as well, just below 7.7. He's going to be 8 really soon, I think. And we've got Werner, which is a bit of a turn up to the books because everyone was shipping him out, but his couple of goals have really kind of put a shot in his arm for people wanting to get him in. And he's owned by 20% of players still. A lot of people are still sticking with Werner. I do kind of wish he was still in my team, but I don't really know how to get him in now. I guess I could probably go. It would be more pay, and then I'd have to get, some filler in there. I'd probably take. If I was being pretty risky, I could maybe go Kilman, and then get, like Benrahma or someone in here, or Barkley. Let's go Benrahma. Where is he? There he is. I could do something like that. Just downgrade J-Rod, and I've sort of downgraded Saiss as well. But I'm not going to be doing that just yet. But yeah, that's the transfers in. Let's have the transfers out. I think that's more interesting, really. So let's start goalkeepers. So obviously Alisson's injured. Nyland's injured for Aston Villa. McCarthy people are chucking. Ryan, Schmeichel, Pope, Pickford, all got hefty people transferring them out. And it's the same thing with injuries on defenders. So we've got Van Dijk, who's been transferred out by a ton of people. People are downgrading from Alexander-Arnold, trying to spread that money around their team. Sancho's injured. James is now a rotation risk at Chelsea, so people are sort of not really interested in that. And Doherty just isn't really offering what he offered at Wolves, so people have obviously got fed up with him there. And he hasn't actually played the last 2 games either, so that's definitely a reason to get rid, isn't it? And we've got Douglas, Dunk, who's injured. Both of those are injured. Castagna, who's a little bit pricey. Justin, who's a bit of a rotation risk again. And Mitchell, who I guess people are wondering if he's going to play. But he's played every game since, so, who knows. Moving on to midfielders. So we've got De Bruyne in there at the top, transferred out. So he's injured, so people are obviously switching from De Bruyne maybe to going to Mane or to Salah. Or even downgrading to Fernandes and banking that 1 million. That's a good move, I think. We've got Aubameyang, who I haven't seen in hardly any teams. I think he's overpriced this year. 12 is too much. I would have thought 11.5. He's trending towards that. 11 would be a fairer price because Arsenal. It's just about Aubameyang really. He hasn't got a supporting cast particularly. I mean, I know he's got Pepe and Saka and Lacazette there. But I don't think they've got enough sort of ammunition for him to get huge points, and he's not really been doing anything. But I mean, he scored 22 goals the last 2 seasons, so he's got goals in him. Probably go on a streak now. I've said that he's not worth it, and they've got decent fixtures: Leicester, Man U, Aston Villa, Leeds, Wolves. So he's an option, but most people are turning and running on him right now, and he's got Willian, his teammate, is also, people are sick of having him. He's got a slight injury, so that kind of makes that move for people. He's not been playing full minutes as well, which is always not great as a asset holder. People are getting sick of Zaha, and we've got Traore here as well, Greenwood, Costa, Barnes, Fernandes, Rodriguez, and Mount there. So it's interesting. Fernandes has been transferred in and transferred out by quite a few people this game week, so he's obviously kind of a contentious player, and I think that's true. People will probably like him, like me. I like him as a player, but I don't particularly like Man U as a team asset to own in fantasy because I just think they're way too inconsistent, so it's kind of hard to predict points. If you get him and he's a season keeper for you, then fine, but I also kind of feel like he's slightly overpriced at 10.5. If he was 9.5, then I think he'd be in way more teams. But that extra million, you can do a lot. Or you've got Son and like Fernandes. Who do you go for? You go for Son, don't you? Because he's like way cheaper. So that's that. So yeah, looking at forwards, we've got Vardy, who's flagged at 10. That's probably an easy move to someone like Kane. And we've got Richarlison, who's injured as well. Or suspended, I should say. So he's going to be missing games. So people are obviously binning him for that. Mitrovic has just looked awful this year. And yeah, I don't think he's ever really been an option. Like, he scored 11 goals last year. In 2018, 2019, I'm sorry. But I don't really think he's much of an option, so I wouldn't have him anywhere near my team. Jimenez, I think people are realising that he's slightly overpriced, and he doesn't really bring in double-digit hauls. He brings in single digits, which is fine if he's, you're going to keep him for a prolonged period of time. But I like to play the game and get in people that are going to be potentially explosive, because then if you captain them or etc., it just more of a payoff there. Then we've got Bamford. Yeah, people are getting sick of Bamford, which I think is I think he's a difficult player to predict. He's in a team where just come up from the Championship and they're just trying to find their feet. So I think he's got goals in him. I had him in my team. I'd still kind of half like him in my team. Let's just put my team back to how it actually is. But I don't know. I might downgrade Morpay if he doesn't keep up his scoring. But at the moment, I rate Morpay and slightly more than Bamford, and the price difference isn't huge. So I guess people are jumping off of Bamford. They're probably going for Morpay. And how many people have got Morpay in? So quite a few people have got Morpay in. But a lot of people are transferring Bamford in. A lot of people are transferring him out. So it's another one of those contentious decisions that people are making. Is sort of like Bruno Fernandes of the striker world. People can't quite decide whether he's good to own or bad to own, whether his fixtures are good or not, if he's going to keep his place. There's quite a lot of question marks, but he's owned by 25% of people, which is quite a lot considering he's, not a huge name particularly. So I guess people are picking him as an enabler to get in a couple of other big heavy hitters. We've got Wilson, who I don't really rate this year. A lot of other people obviously don't as well because they're getting rid. Davis, I have no idea who he is. Never heard of him. Not even sure why he's in your team. If people have got him in. Obviously, you're playing 3-5-2 because he's 4.4 and he's cheap. But I just don't play the game like that. I think you've got to have players actually playing, especially with what's going on at the moment. You can have someone like Rodriguez just get flagged out of nothing, and then you need that extra player. But then we've got Ings. I sold him on my wild card, and yeah, I think he's a bit overpriced this year. Again, it's 8.5. I think 7.5 or 8. If they just because I think he was 6.5 the year before, and he offered good value at that 20 goals a season. So he's been priced up, and he's near Jimenez. He's the same as Jimenez. He's near Werner, and it's like Southampton are going to do well to finish top half. So you're getting a striker from a bottom half team at 8.5, and I find it hard to predict his returns. And the fixtures aren't amazing. They're not particularly bad either, but I just think people are a little bit off put by his price. I mean, he's owned by 20% of players, which is quite a lot, really. But 8.5 just doesn't sit quite well with me. And I prefer, you've got Calvert-Lewin at 7.6, you've got Morpay at 6.6, Bamford. And then that allows you to have someone like Kane, who's like the premium, or you could go Aguero, getting early on his return. Then moving down, we've got Antonio. He's injured, so people aren't really interested in that. We've got Werner, Martial. Martial's suspended. And Werner, who's obviously another contentious pick. So that's the Around the Leagues YouTube video, guys. Thanks very much for watching. If you enjoyed this content, please think about subscribing or leaving a comment. That would be great. And I hope you have a good day. Thanks very much.